Why do people submit to authority? How is it that one man in a uniform can order another man to kill a person that they've never met and who's never done them any harm, and have that order followed over and over and over again? This may seem like an extreme manifestation of obedience, one that you're unlikely to encounter outside of the military or the realm of politics, but the reality of the matter is that the psychological forces which compel people to obey are the same, regardless of the content of the orders given. Stanley Milgram, a psychologist from Yale University, wanted to understand these forces. Specifically, he wanted to know how it was that the German people were convinced to participate in the atrocities of World War II. Were these events due to some unique characteristic in German culture, or was there something else at play? In 1961, he performed a series of social experiments to find out. The experiments were set up as follows. Each test subject was brought into a waiting room where another person was sitting next to them. This other person was an actor. After a short wait, the actor and the test subject were greeted by a man in a white jacket, the kind typically worn by scientists and doctors at the time. The scientists would then explain to them that they were there to participate in an experiment to test whether punishment was an effective way of motivating people to learn.
Psychologists have developed several theories to explain how people learn various types of material. Some of the better-known theories are treated in the book over there, The Teaching and Learning Process by Cantor. One theory is that people learn things correctly whenever they get punished for making a mistake. A common application of this theory would be when parents spank a child when he does something wrong. But actually, we know very little about the effect of punishment on learning because almost no truly scientific studies have been made of it in human beings. For instance, we don't know how much punishment is best for learning. Now, we don't know how much difference it makes as to who's giving the punishment, whether an adult learns best from an older or a younger person himself, and many things of this sort. So what we're doing in the project is bringing together a number of adults of different occupations and ages, and we're asking some of them to be teachers and some to be learners. We want to find out just what effect different people have on each other as teachers and learners, and also what effect punishment will have on learning in this situation.
They were then told that one of them would play the role of the learner, while the other one would play the role of the teacher. The scientists chose the roles for each person, and the actor was always chosen as the learner. Both the learner and the teacher were then shown two rooms, one with a device with multiple switches with voltages marked on each one, and the other room containing a chair with shackles and a set of electrodes. The two individuals were then separated, and the actor was then supposedly shackled to the chair with the electrodes. However, unbeknownst to the real test subject, the electricity was not connected at all. The experiment was then started, and the test subject was ordered to ask a series of questions to the person in the other room through an intercom. Once the answer came back, if it was correct, they were to move on to the next question. If the answer was incorrect, they would flip a switch, administering the shock. Each time an incorrect answer was received, they were to move up to the next switch in the series, thereby delivering a higher and higher voltage.
Now, each time he gives a wrong answer, you move up one switch on the shock generator. And it's important that you follow this procedure exactly. So to help you, let me go through it again very quickly. All right.
The experiment began slowly with only mild yelps from the other room.
Incorrect. Well, now I got a shock of 75 volts.
But very quickly, as the voltage increased, the yelps turned into screams and requests to stop the experiment.
The correct phrase is rich boy.
The person that was supposedly receiving the shocks began to complain of a heart condition and begged to be released from the chair.
Let me out of here, my heart's bothering me. Let me out, I tell you. Let me out of here, let me out of here. You have no right to hold me here.
The next phrase is fast.
Let me out, let me out, let me out of here. Let me
Bird,
out,
car, train, plane.
The real test subjects who were administering the shocks were of course disturbed by this, and they all turned to the so-called scientists to express their doubts. These scientists merely responded by insisting that they must continue.
Answer is bare. 240 volts. Next one's sweet.
No, you go back up to the beginning of that page and go through it again until he's learned them all correctly.
Oh, no, I'm not going to kill that man. You mean I got to keep going up with the scale? No, sir, he's already there. I'm not going to get 450 volts.
The experiment requires you to
I know
continue.
it does, but that man is hollering in there, sir.
As I said before, although the shocks may be painful,
Yeah,
they're not
but
dangerous.
he's yelling in there.
Start with blue, please, at the top of the page. Continue, please, teacher.
What do I tell him? We're going over it again?
No, just go ahead.
Blue, boy, girl, grass, hat. Correct. Nice. Day Sky Job Chair. Wrong. Answer is day. 285 volts.
Continue, please.
Patch. Man, lady, tub, neck. Answer, please. Wrong. Answer is neck. 300 volts.
I absolutely refuse to answer anymore. Get me out of here. You can't hold me here. Get me out. Get me out of here.
Continue. The next word is green, please.
Green. Grass, hat, ink, apple.
If the learner doesn't answer in a reasonable time, about 4 or 5 seconds, consider the answer wrong and follow the same procedures you have been doing for wrong answers. Say wrong, tell them the number of volts, give them the punishment, read them the correct answer.
Oh, man.
Continue, please.
Green. Grass, hat, ink, apple. Answer, please.
Go on with the procedure, please, teacher.
315 volts. The answer is ink.
As incredible as it may seem, for 50 to 65% of all those tested, just this assertion by the man wearing the white jacket was enough to make them continue administering the shock all the way up to the maximum 450 volts, even after the person in the other room abruptly stopped screaming, which would imply that they were dead or unconscious. These experiments have been repeated over and over again using test subjects from all walks of life with virtually identical results. What this means is that more than half of the population would put a random person to death if they were ordered to by a complete stranger that seemed to be in charge. How on earth is this possible? What pushes people to ignore their own conscience and obey an obviously immoral order? The authority of the so-called scientist was based entirely on appearances. He was wearing a white jacket which signified his position. He gave firm and direct orders with no trace of hesitation or doubt, and he presented himself as part of a larger institution, operating in an official capacity. This was his aura of authority. Governments and militaries use the same tools. Uniforms with special medals and insignias to give the appearance of rank and authority, dominant and self-assured speech when addressing subordinates, and an institutionalized chain of command which infers a sense of legitimacy to the position. Take all of this away and all you have is ordinary people telling other people what to do. That's all that's real. These trappings of authority are illusions designed to trick people into handing over their power. Unfortunately, the majority of the population is all too willing to fall for these illusions because it allows them to avoid responsibility for their actions. After all, no one can blame you. You were just following orders. If this is a message you feel the public needs to hear, then be sure to like, favorite, and share this video through as many avenues as possible. If you want more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel, Storm Clouds Gathering, on YouTube. For updates and bonus content, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/StormCloudsGathering, on Twitter at Collapse Updates, and our website, stormcloudsgathering.com.
A custody battle caught on tape. The state comes calling shortly after an Austin mother gives birth. Our top story, an Austin mother cries out for her newborn child, but the state of Texas says she's an unfit mother.
Well, Judy, the state says that Shirley Hauser and her husband don't deserve the chance to raise their 2-day-old daughter. The question tonight is, when the state steps in and takes a baby, is it kidnapping or protecting a child from danger? Shirley Hauser left the hospital with a birth certificate, but no baby.
Excuse me, the child is not to leave this hospital. No. The child is to leave this hospital.
Sir, there's no warrant. I just checked it out.
This dramatic scene at Brackenridge Hospital unfolded Tuesday as Child Protective Services took custody of 2-day-old Jocelyn Hauser. It was recorded on home video by family friend and advocate Mike Hansen.
They told me if I didn't give them my baby, they were going to arrest me.
Much of the confrontation was over this notice of emergency removal from the Department of Protective and Regulatory Services. It was not signed by a judge, but it declared baby Jocelyn would have a risk of physical neglect if she were released with her parents. CPS maintains it has 24 hours to get a judge's signature.
To
A day later, still on pain medication from a cesarean section on Sunday, Hauser longs for her baby.
Oh, my dad. So much hug. She just fight over it. I stayed awake.
We felt it was in the best interest of the baby that we take temporary conservatorship. I had considerable history with that mother.
I didn't neglect my baby one bit. I took all my prenatal vitamins. I ate properly. I didn't drink.
Hauser admits she's had problems, but says she still wants her baby back.
All I want is a chance to prove that I can do what I know I can do. But all I want is a chance.
Now, the law allows CPS to remove children without permission from a judge in certain emergency situations. Today, a Travis County judge signed a court order giving the state temporary custody of Jocelyn. There will be another hearing within 14 days. And, Judy, this is not that uncommon. The state removes an average of 42 children a month here in Travis County.
Whatever happened to due process here in the United States? Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? You know, I've spent several hours over the weekend reading over the case history of Mrs. Hauser. And it turns out she's never done anything to her children. They even admit that. She's been poor, and she went to the government for help with welfare. What Mrs. Hauser didn't know is that after the state has sucked hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the feds for each child, that they then adopt the child out for a couple $100,000 more. And then there's no investigation of the foster parents. Did you know you're 5 times more likely to be abused in the foster parents' homes? There's definitely a place for people to be criminally charged to abuse their children. But grabbing someone's children just because they're poor and ignorant, again, that harkens back to eugenics that went on right up until 1979, where they dropped by and grabbed your children and sterilized them. And again, that was the social workers at that time. There's so much tyranny that comes in the form of white lab coats and bureaucrats. But don't take our word on it. Read from social workers' own dominant textbook used in most colleges. The #1 textbook, Arthur Calhoun's A Social History of the American Family, teaches young social workers, and I quote, "The family goes back to the age of savagery, while the state belongs to the age of civilization. The modern individual is a world citizen served by the world, and home interest can no longer be supreme. As familyism weakens, society has to assume a larger parenthood. The school begins to assume responsibility for the functions thrust upon it. The kindergarten grows downward towards the cradle, and there arises talk of neighborhood nurseries. Social centers replace the old-time home chimney. The child passes more and more into the custody of the community experts." And it goes on and on to say that the family will end so world government can have its way with a socialist commonwealth. This is their own top textbook. They're not even hiding this. They got a hit out on the American family, and they've sold you that it's okay. I'm saying, well, they had never done anything, but they might be crazy, and, well, we really shouldn't let them have a child. Look at that baby. Look how beautiful that baby is. They'll get hundreds of thousands of federal funds, especially they put it on a couple psychotropic drugs, and then they'll adopt it out to somebody. They didn't even have a warrant, nothing. Show up and grab it. And by the way, she has a house, she has a car, her husband has a job. All of this, we've read the reports. They took her other kids for no reason either. I mean, this is incredible, ladies and gentlemen. Now, because they haven't taught us our Bill of Rights or Constitution, they don't need warrants, they don't need anything. I don't care how many jackboots say it's okay and how many kangaroo courts and bureaucracy say it's okay. Pull the baby off the mother as she was breastfeeding. They took her behind closed doors, but this is what happened. She told us. She was begging. They said, "You must come for the psychiatric evaluation." And so the police grabbed the baby off of her. Again, like the Soviet Union.
Here she's been in my room for 2 days straight. No problems, no medical problems, no health problems.
And let me just make this clear for documentation. There is no risk for this baby, and there's no reason the CPS should be taking this baby again.
No.
There's no reason why this baby should be taken away from you, right?
Right. There's no reason at all.
And let's make it clear to the audience that the CPS is outside the door right now.
Yes.
The CPS worker, and I've already talked to her, told her that I was involved with this situation. She's going to call the supervisor back, and we should know in about 10 minutes whether they're going to take the baby or not.
Yeah.
Last child was taken from me, and they said I didn't have proper housing But we was living in a motel and was working hard trying to get a place, and they still took our child. And this CPS caseworker that's here today said that she didn't see that was any problem as long as there was a roof over our kid's head. And they took our kid last time because they said we didn't have proper housing. And that's not right. This caseworker said that she thought that was proper housing. But the last caseworkers took our kid because they said it wasn't proper.
Yeah, but being poor is not a reason to take children.
She's not taking her.
I have to.
No.
And I need you to
We're not signing.
I'm not signing nothing.
Yeah, there's no physical neglect. You guys ain't got proof. You guys lost the other
You guys don't have some paperwork.
I'm not taking her.
Do you have a court order?
This is an emergency removal.
It's signed by who?
Okay, it's an emergency removal that is good for 24 hours until I see the judge tomorrow.
Okay, who is it signed by? And who?
It's signed. It's mine.
Signed by who?
It's just information to the family that we are removing the child.
Okay, but it's public information. Who is it signed by? I need
It's
to
not
tell
signed by
It's not signed by
anybody.
anybody.
It's not signed by anybody.
Okay, we
And it's not
still
going, she's
have the
not
right.
taking her.
We legally have the right to take.
And
the
I
child.
legally have the right to
Okay.
keep my baby in my chair.
They said that she could leave, and they were on their way out the door.
Who said she could?
The hospital.
Okay, not with the baby.
Yes, with the baby.
Without the baby.
No,
She
with
can
the baby.
leave. Anybody else who's in here wants to leave, she can leave, but not the baby. The baby's staying here.
No, the baby's gone.
The baby's not even supposed to be discharged until tomorrow.
Well, you all took my kid last time on the second day. Now, what are you saying that for?
Well, the child is going to stay here.
No, she's not.
Under
Well,
our
unless you
custody.
get a court order.
Not until you get a court order.
We have legal rights. With these,
Go get a
with this
court order.
Okay,
baby.
but
No.
who's?
I want a warrant.
Hold on.
Okay. We have 24 hours
Yeah.
from the date that we remove the child.
Okay, but
to,
it's not. She's not doing anything. We have documented that this woman has taken care of her baby. She's fed her baby on time, and there's no neglect here.
I understand that.
Physical neglect.
Oh God, physical.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's a
Just based on history. Based on history.
So we're going by her past.
Well, I really am shocked to be American at this time. I'm very shocked because I have known this couple, and I went to trial and everything, and they have really done what they were supposed to do to take care of children, and now their child's being taken.
So you're telling me you can take my child without a judge signing no piece of paper or anything?
I have to legally present the case in front of the judge within 24 hours.
Hello? Yeah, please, they're taking the baby right now.
At that
they're taking
time,
it, my God, it's happening right in front of my face.
the judge determines whether we can keep the child
Okay,
out
reckon
there
the
or
child's
not.
You ain't the law.
Yeah,
You are not the
We
law.
have the right legally to take that child if we believe that there is risk or there is.
Well, you sat here and said that there wasn't.
I didn't say that there wasn't.
Yes, you did.
No,
You
I didn't.
sat there and told me
I
that.
did
We
not
got
say
that on
that.
tape. Yes, you didn't see no problems.
I didn't.
You had to call your superiors, what you told me.
I had to call them to see
Okay,
if
they're
they're.
saying this because of her past.
Okay.
But as this child, you didn't see any problems.
Okay. I didn't.
Okay, now
from what
you're
you're
saying
telling
that
me,
Yeah, they're up here
from
taking
what
it
you're
right
telling
now.
me, it did not appear
I
that
can't-
there was
we
a
can't
problem
leave.
with the way your situation was right now. I didn't say that there was a
CPS.
problem.
Are
as
you with
far as
CPS too?
You know, specifically.
Neglect.
Mrs.
Physical
Wolf, who are you with?
But we're basing
See,
on risk.
But you're
Okay,
doing
now
what
we
you're
got two.